I remember telling this guy at the gym back in 2016 that I was buying a rental property in Indiana, and he furrowed his brow, flared his nostrils a little bit, and looked at me kind of confused. Older guy, he was pretty successful, owner of a real estate brokerage, lived in a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood. Name was Jody, which he made up for with a whole lot of TRT and a 600-pound raw deadlift at 60 years old. But anyways, he thought I was crazy, and maybe I am, but fast forward 8 years and 700 signed deeds, I still haven't seen shit. These flip-flops and Vuori joggers are not leaving the sunny state of California. I don't care if it's a 100K house or a 30-unit apartment building, because I've learned over the years that investing out of state and 100% sight unseen is a little bit of a science. And if I can close 17 properties in our Q1 closeout last week in a single week, you could get your first deal. So I'm going to share that formula with you today to get you over that hump and get you to your first out-of-state property and hopefully 100% sight unseen. I don't want you hopping on a plane. So get your pen and pad out. It's going to be a good one. First, we're going to start with a giveaway. 25 free copies of anything from the ACE Toolkit store. The rental property calculator is the most popular thing. It's first come, first serve. When I give you this code, you might want to pause and get over there real quick. Those 25 do go fast. The coupon code is UNSEEN, UNSEEN. You can get to our website by typing in InvestwithACE on Google or just going to our link in bio, look for that legendary rental property calculator. Course is not included, guys. I've never given it away. If you really want to learn how to buy rental property out of state and you want our full blueprint, you like this kind of abbreviated mini course that I'm giving you here, because I can only tell you so much in 15 minutes that Instagram caps this on. Check it out. $600. I'll shoot you straight. I don't care if you buy it or not. I'm making money with the real estate investment firm, plenty more than I am from the courses, but it's a nice little accessory fund for me and usually a good learning tool from you guys. About 2,000 of you have bought it and no one's really had a complaint. So hopefully it helps. But anyways, let's get right to it. And I'm going to try to make this fit within Instagram's 15-minute cap. So the format is just going to be 7 key steps to getting into your first out-of-state property. I don't care what your experience level is. I'm just going to tell you what you need to do. So the first thing you need to do is learn the basics. Here are the basics. If you don't understand the basics of a simple rental property, of a single family home, you need to learn about financials, tenants, condition, and value. You need to learn about all the different types of income and the list of expenses you need to subtract from that and how to calculate them, and what a cap rate is. What's a good cap rate for the market, right? But you need to figure out truly what a property rents for and then what it's going to cost to run it every month. I've got a ton of videos on all these different topics. So just write it down and then go dig through my archives, because I can't go all the way into financials in this session, right? And actually not be here for a full day. But you need to learn income and expenses and true net cash flow. You need to learn really what it takes to pick a market where a tenant can succeed, or a neighborhood where a tenant's going to be able to pay on time. So you got to understand what you're looking for in a tenant, right? Families, what kind of work they do. Do they keep their unit clean? How quickly does a unit fill? How long do tenants tend to stay? That's important stuff, right? You just want to understand what you're looking for in a good tenant. Asking property management companies is good, or just watching my video on property management I made last week. That's a pretty good one too. You need to understand condition. You need to understand what you're looking for in a property's condition, all the structural components. You need to know what they are and what determines if something is in good condition or needs money spent on it, right? At a surface level. Start with a simple deal anyways. Cosmetic stuff, mechanical stuff, windows, siding. How can you tell if they're going to be good or bad? What's a newer window look like, right? Do you know the difference between a wood window and a dual pane vinyl window? So learn the basics of condition. You could look at all these like inspection guidelines for that. I've got a full condition breakdown video somewhere on my YouTube page too that's like an hour long, so you can go and watch that. And then you need to understand how to determine the value of a property. And that's really through comparable sales. What's listed on the market that's similar, what's sold on the market that's similar. You just need to do a lot of research and understand what makes a property similar to another, and then look at all the values you have available to you. So financial, tenants, condition, value. Learn those basics. I've taught them to you a million times over. If you already have that, or once you have that, then you can move on to actually buying the property. The first thing you got to do is a step a lot of people skip. You got to define your criteria. What is it that I'm actually buying? God, this little stain on my shirt's really distracting the hell out of me, and it just came out of the wash too. That pisses me off. But you need to know what it is that you're looking for. You need to have a target. A lot of people never get a first deal because they don't actually have a target set of parameters that they're checking off when they're analyzing properties, right? So you need to decide what kind of product. Is it a house, a duplex, a fourplex, a student rental, affordable long-term rental, an Airbnb? You need to decide a type of product. And really the simplest thing is to say, hey, do I want a single family home, a multifamily, a commercial property? What type of property am I buying? Am I going to look for? Because you can't pick a market without knowing all of these things that you're looking for, right? So you got to pick a product. Then you got to pick a price point that you want to play in. This comes down to what can you afford. Then you've got to determine what kind of cap rate, what kind of yield, what kind of cash flow do you expect from this property, right? So that way you can actually run your numbers on properties and see if it meets your criteria. And that's at current rents and at market rents. You could say I'm willing to buy something a little under rented as long as the market rents get me to here. What kind of asset class? A, B, C, D neighborhood, what do you want to play in? Are you going for a pure Section 8 play where that's the only tenant that's going to pay on time, but you buy it for really cheap? Or are you going for something a little bit better than that, where there's a mixture of the two? There's working tenants, but there's still prevalence of affordable housing. Are you going for homeowner neighborhoods only, top of market A class, and you're willing to pay for it? Pick an asset class. And then this is the big one, the amount of stabilization a property needs. This means how complicated is it? How much work is it? Is it completely vacant and a total gut and you got to go through this giant project, but you're looking for a really good price point in exchange? Or are you looking for a property that you're going to pay market value for at a certain target price that's really primo, even though you're paying a little over what you could be, right? You're not going to have to deal with a whole lot. So the amount of effort you're going to put in, that's a key part of your criteria. After you defined your criteria, you're going to pick a market. And I literally have written here, see above, based on those criteria. All you guys got to do is you got to bust open. This is really simple. When we're screening markets, I bust open Zillow, the listing, the sold, and the for rent side. I duplicate the tabs. And then I start screening areas. And then I have a rental property calculator open on a whole different monitor. And I'm picking up sample properties that are for sale or have sold on that market, looking at various prices, things that appear to fit that criteria I've set. I pop open, I do a mini analysis of my rental property calculator to see if it works. Then I kind of take a look at the pictures, see what the condition is like, go, does this seem like what I'm looking for? And if the answer is yes, that market goes on a list of all the markets that qualify, that make sense. So then you can move on to phase 4. Grab your couple favorites where the product that you like, that meets your criteria, appears most frequently. Maybe 1, maybe 3, but I say, grabbing one and committing to it that has a whole lot of options and seems to most closely fit your criteria is the best way. And then go find your property manager. And I've given you a whole video on how to find a property manager last week. I know I'm going super dense here, right? But essentially it's a Google search and referrals, and you're looking at number of reviews and how high the reviews are. And you want to make sure there's backups in every market. So never get into a market where there's only one decent seeming property manager. Then you want to vet them. I gave you, like I said, a whole class on this vetting process last week. And then you just want to have a couple in your back pocket. Run the areas you think you like in town by them when you're on the phone with them. See what they have to say about it. Run your criteria by them. Hey, I'm looking for stuff like this that has these kind of numbers and these kind of prices. Where do you guys find that, and do you succeed with it? Do you like managing that? They'll help you confirm the area of the market that you like and that you're actually looking for something that's viable and that exists out there, right? And if you need to, do the same thing to find a lender, dude. Just Google. Lenders are pretty easy. If you're DSCR, fine, go for DSCR. I tend to not like these overpriced loans for people that have very little cash in pocket, because then you're likely to get burned when you can't afford the risks, the ups and downs, the volatility of owning an asset in the first couple of years until it stabilizes all the way, right? But find your lender too at this phase if your managers are check, your product works, and it seems like you're in the right market, right? I think just a basic conventional lender for most people that could afford a property. Just look for a conventional lender, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You can find commercial folks too, local banks, whatever it might be. Make a big fat list of all the different lenders, because there's going to be a bunch of different options, and then start banging through them and see which ones can work for the type of product that you've decided that you're going to invest in at this point. And you should have that decision after you've talked to the manager. Step 5 is lead gen. You actually need to start getting these properties to hit your inbox, to hit your desk, because it takes a lot of them to actually find one that works. And you need reps to learn your market and learn to analyze more accurately in it anyways. So here's some options for lead gen. The most basic way, and this is the toughest way to find deals, but it is there's many of them right in front of you, but it's tough to find the magical deal. You have to dig up a lot of information. This is the MLS. Just hop it on Zillow and seeing what's for sale. That's always an option. If you want to take it a step further, you put a little more effort to see the deals, but you have a possibility of finding maybe better ones or ones that are more screened, or that you could screen more easily or pre-screen more easily. Then contact brokers that appear to be the most active in these particular regions with your product. Look at listings and sold comps that really match what you're looking for and go, hey, do you have anything pre-market coming up, and maintain those relationships? That's a little bit of work. Wholesale, kind of the same thing, right? You can hop on Facebook groups in your marketplace and see what's hitting the wholesale market. You might get lucky with something that's off market that a deal hunter's found and just wants to tack a 5K fee on top of. So you can go and negotiate those. Or you could do your own direct marketing. If you really want to roll your sleeves up, get your knuckles bloody, get your hands dirty, whatever you want to call it, right? This is what we do. If you plan to be the active operator that does things at scale and you really want to build your real estate acquisitions into a little bit of a business and not just buy 1 or 2 rental properties a year and you don't have time for anything else, then you might want to send some mailers out. You might want to figure out SMS and how to do it correctly and legally, right? Or cold calling or whatever it might be. You might want to go out and market directly to sellers yourself to try and get some better deals. But remember, there's a lot of effort on the front end. There's some costs on the front end. There's a lot of effort on the back end. Once these people start calling you, there's a lot of things you have to do to make sure you screen through the sea. And if it's only to find 1 deal a year, probably not worth it for you to do that, honestly. Then you've got to go through your step 6, your acquisitions process. You've got to learn how to screen these actual leads once they come in. And I have a simple screen. We have a call 1 here where you basically get the property address, what type of property it is, the seller's asking price, the current rents, and any like owner paid utilities, because that's a hard thing to kind of just look up on your own, right? Then you go and analyze the property. After you get the financials and do the numbers work out and what are you asking? Does it even sound like it's close enough? Then you go and do a little bit of an analysis yourself, see what the market rents are, see what the comps are going for. Does this look like it's going to be a good deal? You can start to crunch your numbers at this point, plug it onto your calculator. Then you call back, you get detailed tenant and condition info. Because on that first call, you just want to generally go, hey, is it in decent shape? I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole now because that's a really long conversation before you even know it's a deal. But once you think it might be a deal, you call in and you go, how old, tell me about the tenants. How long have they been there? What kind of jobs do they have? Do they keep the place clean? Can they afford an increase? Do they plan to stick around? Whatever it is. How many people live in it? Do they have any pets? And then you go down the condition list. How old is the roof? How old are the windows? What's the condition of the siding? Am I gonna have to paint and floor this place? How old are the mechanicals inside, right? You go down this full condition questionnaire. Once you do, you can make adjustments based on what kind of repairs you think you need to make. And you could say, hey, I think my offer is gonna have to be here because of A, B, C, D, and all these other things you've told me over the course of our interaction. That's your negotiation. If you negotiate, you send out an offer. If they agree to the offer, they sign. After they sign, you're inspecting that sucker, you're collecting leases, you're sending the contract to the title company. If you don't have an agent involved, you send it over yourself. They do the title work, make sure there's no liens against the property, and you're proceeding towards a closing if it's a cash deal. If it's not, you just need the lender to get an appraisal in order, and you need to send some of the financials over to the lender in that case as well, right? So acquisitions is simply, once you get the lead in, you're screening before you get a contract, you're negotiating with justification, and then you're doing your due diligence to verify all the information you collected using third parties like inspectors and documentation, and appraisers and all that stuff. Once the contract is signed, then you just close it up. And when you close it up, step 7 is just operations, right? So the key is being able to operate this remotely. You need a property manager. And I've said this in the last video, I gave you a bunch of great tips on how to manage your manager in the last video and be successful. You need to, 1, pick a property to get started with, especially in the beginning before you know your manager, that you don't think they'll have a hard time with. You want to send them something relatively easy. If it's easy, they'll succeed, right? That may not be the juiciest deal for you, but it's a tester. It's how you cut your teeth on this business in a new market with some new people doing business for you. And then you want to stay on top of them. Make sure the income and all the expense items are what they're supposed to be on these, if they're using AppFolio like most managers do for software, on these semi-monthly statements. 15th and 1st, you're going to get automated statements saying, here's the ledger. Every dollar collected from these tenants and then every dollar spent by the property manager. You get to see it and you get to go ahead and vet it out and ask them questions about it. Make sure they're on track. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you do that, they're going to stay on you and treat you like they're one of their top tier clients, as long as you're not a complete asshole and ask them unnecessary questions and bug them all the time. So just ride them, then get a little more complex over time once that relationship builds and you see that they can be successful and you can be successful with this product in this market, in this situation, 100% remotely. And that's the biz, guys. One more time, real quick before we cut this, you got to learn the basics, then you got to define your criteria, then you got to pick a market, number 3. Number 4, find a manager and a lender. 5, lead gen. 6, the acquisitions process, and 7 is the operations. If you could do all of this, you can buy a clean, simple, inexpensive property out of state to start and then build from there.